Hey everyone, it's creepy tent video time. It's day 86 on the CDT, and today was a long day, but one of those interesting days where the water sources kind of dictate what happens. Before we jump into that, I did my mileage yesterday after the video, and I found out that I, as of yesterday, hiked 1,511 miles. So I passed the 1,500 mark. Today was a little over 31 miles, like 31 and a half, I think. So I'm now up to 1,543 for the mileage. So it's a big milestone. I knew it was coming, but I didn't pay attention to the math over the last couple days. So I did the math last night and I was like, oh, okay, 1,500. Theoretically halfway, but again, since I did the Gila alternative and I'm about 100 miles short because of that forest, like doing the road walk to avoid the national forest closures. We're past halfway, I think, on the CDT. So my hope is to go back to New Mexico and hike the 300 miles. So we'll see what happens with regard to my mileage and what the total actually is. But I can say that because of that road walk, from the border of New Mexico to Mexico to the place I'm sitting, which is 3 days outside of Rawlins, north of Rawlins, Wyoming, with a 31, a 28. So what is that? 59 plus a 19. So a 78 miles, I think, if I did that math correct. I just did that real quick. So continuous steps from approximately 75 miles north of Rawlins all the way back to the border. So that's a big thing for me. When I hiked the Colorado Trail and I hiked the PCT, I had gaps because of fires or injuries or whatever it is. And then I had to actually finish the following year for both trails because of those gaps. So hopefully everything continues to go well, and I can continue. That was a ridiculous statement. I can continue the continuous steps all the way to Canada. I can make sure that I have continuous steps from Mexico to Canada. That would be pretty cool. Okay, so my hair's kind of a mess. It was a windy day, and because we were hiking west and north a lot of the day, the wind was like directly in my face. So I was able, like at the end of the day, I had some sweat, so I was able to kind of push down some of my hair, but you can see it's fluffy all over the place. Hiking into a wind is difficult when you have a heavy pack because the pack wants to act like a sail. So sometimes it'll, push you this way or that way. So you're not hiking as quickly as you would like to hike. Also, I mentioned that the water source is dictated today, and the reason why is from where I camped last night, the first water source was about 6 miles. The second water source was 6 miles after that. The third water source was 17 miles after that. And then there was no water from that third water source until 11 miles later. Actually, about 12 miles later. So it's a situation where you have to decide how you want to approach the day. There are some hikers that will get into a water source. They will guzzle 2 or 3 liters. They'll carry minimal water, and then they'll hike to the next water source as quickly as possible because they're not lugging water, so they can move a little bit quicker. There are others who will just take care of their water needs. Like they'll, if they are thirsty, they'll drink a half liter, they'll fill up their water bottles, and then they'll keep on hiking. I took a third approach in this situation where I At the first water source, I drank a liter while I was there and made sure that my Nalgene was full, and the Nalgene's a liter. And I hadn't touched my Camelback because when I left camp, I had a liter of electrolytes in my Nalgene. So I basically just topped off. I drank half of that by the time I got to the first water source. So I topped off my Nalgene, which made it like a weak electrolytes for the rest of between water source 1 and 2. But I drank a liter at the water source, so I was good. At the second water source, I drank another liter. I got my water for lunch that I needed, and I also carried an extra liter just to be on the safe side. Because that's when you're starting to hike in the hot part of the day, 11 to 1 or 12 to 2. At the third water source, it was a cow pond. It was 2 cow ponds side by side. Because I had 2 liters in my Camelback because I hadn't touched it yet, and I was carrying a liter from the second water source, I elected to filter the liter from the second water source. I collected a liter from the cow ponds, but left it in my dirty Platypus. And then, sorry, the Platypus is a bladder. It's a company that makes water bladders. There's several companies that make the water bladders, but I have mostly Platypus. And then I hiked from the third water source to the fourth water source using the 2 liters in my Camelback and the liter that I filtered at the pond. When I got to the fourth water source, which was also a cow pond, I saw that it was clearer and it was a little bit easier to actually collect. So I dumped the cow pond, the third cow pond, because it was not clear. It was a murky bit of water. And I loaded up on 5 liters of water at the fourth water source, and then I hiked, I think, a half mile and camped. So that's the approach I took. If there had been a water source between the third and the fourth, like 6 or 7 miles apart, then at the third water source, I likely still wouldn't have drank a liter because of how murky the water was. I would have hoped that if there was a water source in between third and fourth, I would have hoped that would be a little bit cleaner. The first 2 water sources were springs, so they were actually running well and clean water. And then we got into the cow ponds. Tomorrow, I think there's a questionable water source about 4 or 5 miles from camp. And then it's sketchy. So there's some sketchy water until I think it's like mile 11 or 13 or something like that, where there's I guess a pretty good water source. So rumor has it there's a water cache about a half mile from where I'm camping. So if there is a water cache, I'll probably I'll drink a liter there, and I'll carry a liter with me. And if I get to the questionable water source in 4 or 5 miles and it is questionable, then I'll just keep going to mile 11 or 13. So this is the type of planning you got to do when you have limited water, and it kind of dictates your mileage. When I got up this morning, I knew I was going to have patience, because I think I've mentioned the recipe to hike a 30-mile day is 10 miles by 10 o'clock, 20 miles by 2 o'clock, and then the rest of the day to get your 30. I knew I was going to be late on that time for 2 reasons. One, I started hiking at 6:30, not 6. So I had to shift that time frame. And then the second reason is I was stopping at every water source, filtering a liter of water and drinking it, and that takes time. So the reason why you need patience is because I was sitting at lunch at, it was after 1, it was coming up to 2 o'clock, and I had only hiked 15 miles for the day, and I had 16 miles left. Usually when you're trying to do a 30, you're trying to get, by lunchtime, you're trying to get between 15 and 17 miles already finished. Hopefully it's closer to 17 miles, and that way you have fewer miles in the afternoon. But that's not the case today with the water sources. So It was a long afternoon. I was able to hike about 3 miles per hour for a couple of hours, and that helped catch me up. But it's 10 o'clock right now. I've stretched and filtered and all that kind of stuff, but dinner sitting here waiting for me to eat. And I still need to do a couple of stretches in the tent because my body is barking at me, and I need to stretch out some stuff. So it'll be a late night. I'll probably get started late tomorrow as well. Late meaning like 6:30 or so. And I'll probably sleep in by, 10, 20, 30 minutes. I don't know tomorrow. One exciting thing that did happen today, it was really early in the morning. It had to be within the first, I think, 2 miles of my hiking. I was hiking along and I saw a horse, and there are wild, meaning like untamed, unshoed horses out here. And, this is just a lone horse out by itself. There was no people around. There were no other horses. There was an antelope up on the hill, but I don't think the antelope and the horse were hanging out. Could be wrong. The horse did not have any type of markings that showed that it belonged to anybody. It didn't have any reins or anything like that showing it escaped. So I'm pretty sure it was a wild horse, because I also checked out its hoof prints because I walked on the trail a bit, and they were unshod. So I'm pretty sure it was a wild horse, and it was on the right hand side of the trail, and it looked at me for, I don't know, a good 3 minutes as I was approaching it. And I got within like 20 feet of where it was standing, and suddenly it whinnied and turned around and ran. It wasn't sprinting. It was a good jog, and it ran across the trail right in front of me. And then went on the left side of the trail and stopped its run and kind of cantered a bit, and then came to a stop and watched me walk away, and it started eating some shrubs and stuff. So, it was a white horse. It had one spot on its back left leg was gray, but the rest of it was a pretty white horse. So, pretty white meaning a beautiful white horse. Sorry. So that was exciting. I have never seen wild horses. So being able to see a wild horse was fun, especially since it came up so close as it ran across the trail. So I don't know if it just wanted to say hello, or if it felt more comfortable on the left-hand side, or if it expected me to run after it, or what. But it was exciting, to say the least. So, all right, I'm gonna go so I can eat some dinner and get to bed, because I'm tired. 31 miles spread across 13 hours, stopping at all the water sources in very hot heat. So you're drinking and you're just running water through your system all day, or electrolytes. That's tiring. So the benefit was that I had to use the restroom. I had to pee a half dozen times, and every one of them was a light color. So my strategy seemed to pay off for keep myself hydrated. And when I came into camp, I drank an Nalgene of electrolytes, and I'm not parched. So I think my strategy worked. So that's good news. Alrighty, everyone, have a nice evening. Thanks for watching the videos, and I hope you're all safe, and I'll talk to you folks tomorrow. Bye.